All right, we're good.
Hello, listeners. My name is Charles Scott. Here we are again this weekend. I'm here with my son.
Charles Scott Jr., how you guys doing today? And like I said, you can go online, look at some previous episodes in case you're just for first time seeing us. I'm Charles Scott Jr. with Tri-State Realty. We do this for about 3 to 4 years. Multiple episodes, but I would say look at some of the latest ones because real estate is constantly changing. We're always talking about new different topics.
And there's a lot of changes that are still coming up. Every week there's some changes happening with real estate.
Yes.
You know, I sort of date this. We're coming into the holiday season.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of things that are going on, you know, but I always advise people to get out there now and still start looking around. It's a good time to look around because with the availability of properties, as other people start slowing down and looking, that was the time for the real aggressive people to get out there and look.
I'll say this is the best time to look for a house. I have customers who like to take a break from November and then come back in March to, look for a house. But I'll say December, January, February, those are some great times to see a house because it's snowing outside. Temperature might be, a little bit lower. Less people are out looking for houses. And less people means less competition. When we put an offer in, we may be the only ones putting an offer in because everybody's waiting for spring.
Yeah, in the previous years, I've always done well when it comes to November, December, January, and February. Because the properties that are out there, the sellers are more motivated to sell also. They're tired of shoveling the snow. They're tired of raking the leaves. And, especially if there's a multifamily and you're dealing with tenants, the landlord has got more work to do, more scheduling to do. So, it's sort of more gives them that impetus to want to sell the property and say, hey, I want to sell this property, especially if they're moving into a warmer climate.
Yeah, also I said with there's one more example, with the weather being colder and us having snow on the roof and stuff like that, we can see if there's any potential leaks in the house. Whether if it was spring and sunny outside, we wouldn't see this leak immediately, without our inspection. But it's good to, I would say, if you're really looking for a house, don't let the holidays deter you. Good time to look for a house during the holidays, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really, the mortgages and the interest rates and the qualifications are not affected by the season.
Nope.
They don't go by what month it is. Either you have your credit score, you have your savings. The programs are still out there. They don't change any of the programs based upon the season. So everything is still a constant, but it's just a matter of you getting out there, getting motivated, poking around in whether it's the snow or the bad weather and looking for the properties because you're going to have, more of the field to yourself. You got more time to look around. So the only thing that I don't like about when we get into the colder seasons is the time changes and it gets darker quicker.
It's dark earlier.
So it gets darker a little earlier, and I'm used to where it stays daylight till like 8, 9 o'clock, and so we could look at a lot of houses, but you got to look at pluses and minuses. That's an advantage for you to get out there.
Yeah, I would say my customers here who live in Connecticut and want to stay in Connecticut, remember we're getting an influx of New Yorkers since COVID, even more so now, that like this area. They like Bridgeport, they like Connecticut, whether it be a rental or buying a house, they are coming here in droves. And when the sun sets a little bit sooner, they actually don't come here. They wait until the weekend or they wait till springtime. So right now you do have a great advantage over, a lot of people just looking for a house right now in the wintertime. Give us a call. We're 24-hour agents as far as, at least I say I'm 24 hours. Don't text them at 5 a.m. You can call me though.
No. don't do that.
You can text me. But as far as, we'll go by your schedule.
I wouldn't even say that.
No, they can text me. I'm up. I'll text you back. But I would say what you can do is give us a call. We'll go by your schedule. We have some clients who work all night. They sleep all morning. They can't look at houses till 1 o'clock. They try to call their agent, their relative. Oh, that person's at work. This is our work. We're here, like I said, we work here 7 days a week.
So you want to give us a call, there's a telephone number right down there. You can give us a call. Give us a call on the cell phone. You can call us on the office phone. And even if we're not in the office, it'll flip over to our cell phone so we can still be able to talk to you. So we're all over the area, all over the state. Call us, father and son. Like you said, we get two for the price of one. We can come out and talk to you, or you could, actually give us a call. So there's a lot of things that are happening. We're able to sit down, talk to you, whether you have a multifamily or whether you want to buy a single family house or, condos have been pretty popular recently too.
Condos have been very popular. especially due to what we're seeing this interest rate. People are getting qualified only for so much. And you may not realize, you've been desiring a house this whole time, but you may see some of these condos and say, wow, I don't have to shovel snow. I don't have to cut the grass. Maybe they have a swimming pool there on the actual property. A lot of perks when it comes to a condo for those that may not want to have the full responsibility of having to do all those things when you own a house.
I find that what we've been finding is that condos have been popular lately because of the increase in the rents.
Yes.
Because the rents have gone up, really high. People are starting to think if they're going to pay $1,800 to $2,000 a month just for rent, I might as well buy a condo because,
exactly.
With the condo, at least you build up some equity. If you get it priced right, you're going to build up some equity. You own the condo. It'd be nice if you get a condo with a garage, and you got a garage. You got 2 bedrooms, 1.5 baths, a nice area, and you don't have to worry about shoveling the snow, cutting the grass, doing the maintenance. And it depends on how high up you want to go. You can get some of these condos that have swimming pools, they have exercise rooms, clubhouse, large storage underneath. So you can get one near the hospital, near the golf course, near the school, near a college. And in many of these condos, you can afterwards, let's say, for example, you want to buy a single family, you can rent it out.
I was going to say that right there. Be careful with that because you cannot rent all of them out. Remember,
right.
You want to have a realtor who knows to do their due diligence. Your lender is going to request what they call a resale package, but it's up to us to sit down and say, are these condos going to be fit for what you're looking for, whether you're staying there for 5 years, 10 years. Because remember, these condos are run by, I'll say, an HOA, and the HOA has a board, and they make the rules for this place. And it may be a rule that says no more future renters. You may say, oh, I see people renting them, but what is the new rule going forward? What about the pets? What about how many cars you can have on the property? So you want to make sure your agent is doing their due diligence and doing all this research. Because some may just be eager to put an offer in and not think about your best interests.
Yeah, if you have a condo out there also on the other side, if you're looking to sell it, give us a call. Because like I said, there's a big demand out there now for condos. People are looking to purchase them. So if you're looking to sell a condo, we have to look at it, do our due diligence, because a condo, unlike a house, you have a single family house, you sell the house, they have their inspection, but when a condo comes, what they call a resale package, you got rules and you have regulations. So for many of you out there that have a condo, you got to look into the resale package because that can determine the value. If you got a condo, and because we get a lot of sometimes investors, they want to buy the condo and they want to rent it out. Maybe if this condo is near a college, it can fetch more money because investors want to buy the condo, and then they want to rent it out to maybe the college students. Or maybe, here's another strategy. A lot of people, rather than send their children to college and have them live on the dorm and have them take out a huge student loan to pay all of that rent on the college, they'll buy the condo, and then their student will live in the condo off the campus.
Yes.
It may be 2 or 3 bedrooms with a finished lower level or whatever. So now look at it this way. They spend $250,000 for the condo, and instead of the student paying $1,500 a month rent on the college, they'll take and rent it, put the student in there, and have the student, 2 more of his friends rent also. So therefore, the father or the parents are making money from the rents of the condo. They don't have to pay that student loan, which 1,500 times 12, that's almost 20 grand a year right there.
More than that now, room and board and everything, and the food and everything. So
after the 4 years, they can turn around and sell it, get back
it.
all their money, plus a profit, depending upon the market. Or they could just keep it and keep renting it out to other students that come in after their child has graduated from college. So look at all the diversity that they can do with that one condo.
And I also want to tell the viewers, remember, when you're online and you may be sending us properties or maybe your realtor or someone that you know, there is a big difference between co-ops and condos.
Oh.
You may see these co-ops in the single digits, double digits, like 60,000, 70,000. Remember, those are not condos; those are cooperatives, which we'll explain on a different episode. But it's like a condo, just requires a lot more, I'll say, due diligence, and you make sure you have an agent that knows how to handle co-ops, which we specialize in also.
Exactly. There's a world of difference between a co-op and a condo. So make sure that when and a good way to tell is by the price.
That's what I was saying.
We have people send us a lot of properties, right? And say, "Oh,
Yep.
it's only $65,000."
That's why those co-ops get a lot of eyes on them, because those prices, I'll say, are going to be between 50 and 90,000. They haven't hit triple digits yet. We'll see. But I'm saying co-op is a great place to live if you can get in there. I mean, like I said, you have to have the agent that knows how to do the due diligence. You have to be interviewed by the board. There are only special types of financing that they'll take. Usually it's cash is what we're seeing. A lot of banks don't finance co-ops. So that's another thing a realtor should know. And then don't go there with FHA. Basically, make sure you do all your checks and Qs before you go forward with a co-op.
Right. Another thing we've been talking about recently is the probate.
Yeah, probate.
Probate cases. We can't emphasize enough on that if you are aware of someone who has a property and it's in probate, usually on the property records it'll say the estate of. A lot of people will happen that someone will pass away and the property is in someone else's name and they just keep it that way. And the big issues occur when they get ready to go to sell that property.
Yes.
We could tell you so many stories of where maybe somebody lives in a house and the mother or the father passes away. The person living there continues to stay there and continues to pay the mortgage or pay all the bills, the lights, the gas, everything that there is for years and years and years. And then they go to sell the property. That they're asking that person to move out, and this person says, "Well, hey, I've been paying all of the bills."
People, I was gonna say, people don't realize that you have to have your stuff in order. Imagine if someone passes away, you still have to go through probate. I don't know how many years it's been, or whether you quit claim. I've had people call us and say, "Well, I put the house in a trust. Now the bank can't. No one can touch it but me, not even the bank," which is not true. So make sure you consult an attorney first, but give us a call. We can put you in the right position. We're gonna have that attorney up here one day, I promise.
Oh yeah,
Episode's coming.
No. We've been working on a lot of probate cases, and the attorney's been quite
It'll be a
busy.
good episode. You guys stay tuned.
But we're going to schedule an appointment, and we're going to have a whole session, more than one, because it's kind of hard to.
It's a lot of information.
Hard to go by that in a half-hour session. I figured it'd probably be like a 3-part session that we're going to have. And we're going to talk about, like you just mentioned, probate, wills, trusts, and all of the different things that are involved. Because it gets kind of complicated. And I don't think I've ever seen one situation in probate that actually spans where everybody's covered under that same situation.
Oh no!
They're all different situations. It's
always different.
I've done probably 25 different ones, and every single one was totally different from the other. So you can't go by what someone tells you, and you get a lot of hearsay where people say, "Well, in my case, this is what we did." Doesn't make any difference.
Totally different case, different house, different people, different time. Each probate case takes time and care. That's why you want to make sure you have someone that knows what they're doing. Realtors like us, we're experts in probate. The attorneys we work with, experts in probate. So it's very hard to find when both levels are on, the same level playing ground, I'll say.
Yeah, no matter what you're doing, whether it's probate, divorce situations, or whatever it may be, the majority of all of these situations all start out with knowing the value of the property. It's called a CMA, a competitive market analysis. And we can't emphasize enough that, many of you out there that watch this program, you may not want to sell your house. You're not looking to sell the house, but it's always a good idea to find out what is the house worth, what is the market value. Because in order for you to make a decision, you need to know how much your house is worth.
Exactly.
Because the decisions that you're making right now and what you're basing that decision on might be based upon something that happened 8 years ago, or what you thought the house was worth 8 years ago, which is totally different from what's happening right now. I know you recently just sold a was it a two-family house?
Yeah, two-family house
for $600,000.
Yeah, and I will say it sold for over asking with a tenant inside. I got my client to keep the property as is, which is great. I know a lot of people out there are multifamilies. You may be hesitant to put on the market because you think you have to do so much cleanup. Whether you have items in the backyard, whether it be lawnmowers, garbage, et cetera, or floors that have, missing guardrails and stuff like that. I would say give us a call because I was sold that one as is, My client was enthusiastic. I'm going to clean up any of this stuff? I said, yeah, you don't have to clean up any of it. And to make sure I protect my client, I had them sign an as-is addendum, which we'll explain in a different episode. But remember, not every agent is going to be able to negotiate this. You have to have an agent that has experience selling multifamilies, what we're going to encounter. Imagine if someone has family members they have with the building. Remember, we can sell with the tenants inside, even if they're not paying rent.
I know you went through about 500 phone calls on that one.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
There's a lot of negotiating, going back and forth, and, till everybody's happy. And in a situation like that, everybody was happy. The buyer was happy, the seller was happy, and the tenant was happy because the tenant didn't have to move out. And it all depends on what offers you get in. Everybody that puts an offer in on the house, people were asking for different things. Some people wanted the house to be completely empty when they bought it. Some people wanted the house to be probably repairs, items done, or everybody wanted something different. So, what an agent does for you is the agent negotiates until they get what you're looking for. You say, okay, this is Mr. Scott. I want to sell the house. I'm not going to put a lot of money into it. It was a nice house to begin with. It was not. The house was really fixed up, but it needed some minor things like there was a pipe in the basement. I remember it had a little leak on it, but those are minor things. Some stuff was in the garage. The grass needed to be cut. The owner actually, spent most of the time out of the country. He lived in Connecticut, but was away a lot. But, the tenant was there, and the second and the third floor were actually vacant.
That was a great thing. Those out there also who, I want to mention this, who are thinking about selling their multifamily, and you have currently have a vacant, whether first floor or second floor, and you're thinking about putting a person in there and signing a brand new lease, I would say think before you do that, because remember, when we're selling these multifamilies, if we have all the floors occupied, we're going to be limited to investors, which is not a bad thing, but investors, I will say, are a little bit smart with their money. They know what they're getting, what they're paying for, versus if you have an empty unit, whether it be the first, second, third floor, it become owner occupied, which means somebody who's just looking for somewhere to live, more of the retail buyer can come in. They can actually they will spend more money because they want somewhere to live versus, also being an investment, I'll say on top of that. But definitely, give us a call. We're experts at that.
Yeah, I would say more so when you have a multifamily, it's nice if you can leave one of the units empty because it opens it up to more buyers.
Yep.
Let's say you have a multifamily house and you're selling it, and 20% of the people that are looking at it are investors. That's like 20% of the people. But the other thing is that 80% of the people that are looking at the house, they are looking at it because they want to live there. So therefore, if you have it fully occupied, 80% of the people looking at your house are going to say, well, I need somewhere to live. I can't wait until the people that are there move out. So if you have an apartment and you have a tenant that's moving out, it's not to your best advantage to go ahead and rent it back out and then put it on the market. I mean, if it's already rented, okay. But if you have a choice, it's better to at least, especially if you're not living there. Now, if you're living there, it makes a different story.
That's different if you're living there.
Because if you're selling a two-family house and you're going to be moving out of one of the floors, then that makes it easy. But if you're not living there and you're an investor and you have two tenants in there and one tenant moves out, you're better off leaving one of those floors empty.
Yeah, because like I said before, the bank's going to want the person who's getting the mortgage to be living in the property, owner occupied. And that's another thing I will say as a agent that represents both sides sometimes, or whether it be the buyer or the seller. When I represent my buyers and we have a mortgage where we have to move into one of those floors, you know we're going to put in the contract that we're not closing until we know that tenant has moved out and we've done our walkthrough. Because if not, we're going to become landlords on the floor. We need to move in. The bank won't give you the mortgage unless it's an empty unit.
So as you can see, though, I mean, like in that situation there, I know you did a lot of negotiating back and forth until basically the seller was happy and the buyer was also happy because it worked out for everybody all the way around, and the tenant. So it's a situation where everybody was happy. We made the sale, and now the buyer's in the process of going in and remodeling the house to how they want to fix it up.
Exactly.
And the tenant is still living on the first floor. So it's a good situation, something like that. But you never know. If you call us up, we can come out and analyze your situation because, like I said, all these situations are different. And it doesn't have to be a multifamily. It could be a single family. It could be a condo.
It could be a condo. It could be a single-family house.
Right.
And like I said, the CMA we do costs you nothing. It's free. We come out there, we look at your house, and we give you a fair estimate of what it could go for in this market. Now remember, I say this every week, if you look in your phone, I'm sure Zillow and Redfin can give you a number, but like I said, it's not a real accurate number what's going on in your house. You may have a jacuzzi, you may have a finished basement, you may have done something with the kitchen that the Zillow doesn't know about. So yeah, give us a call, we'll give you an accurate CMA, a cost market analysis of what your house is worth.
When you talk about Zillow, I mean, a lot of the people out there, I know you might look at Zillow, but there's three main sources. You have Zillow, you have Realtor.com,
You have Redfin.
you have Redfin, and you have Trulia. Now, it's amazing how you can look at all four of those different algorithms or websites, and all four will have four different prices for your house. And it could be a difference of $100,000 to $150,000 different on each one of those, because the reason being, it depends on which algorithm or which website has more information than the other. Maybe the Realtor.com one hadn't been updated in 2 years. Maybe the Zillow one was, you know, you can look on YouTube and say, well, that photo was taken 6 months ago. The photo was taken a year ago.
That's why I was going to mention, yeah, definitely. When you get any of these houses on Zillow, Redfin, Trulia, send it to your agent or send it to me, like I said, and have them do due diligence. Look at this house because, like I said, these apps only update certain times a day. Whether I'm on the MLS morning or night, I'm getting live information. So I can tell if that house has been under contract. Is it off the market? Is it still active? Because when you get this house on Zillow, you scroll to the bottom, they put it in small letters. They'll say updated 8 hours ago. A lot can change in 8 hours, especially in this market.
8 hours, some of them's 8 months.
Yeah, right? You want to make sure you have the most up-to-date information when it comes to a listing.
I find that property values can change from street to street. You could have a house on one street where next door could be a factory.
Yes.
It could be a river. You could have a house 3 streets up where it's got shorefront property or it's on the beach. Then around the corner you could have another property that's in a very nice neighborhood with landscaping and all of that. So you got properties within walking distance, and all 3 properties have totally different values. But when you're looking at it from a website or YouTube, you put a circle around all of them and figure out the average price. Well, that price may not fit your house.
And I was going to say that also, especially with Bridgeport. I mean, you see the areas we have: the north end, east end, east side, west end, Hollow. A lot of different areas. That Zillow may not know how to separate these areas and know exactly what the value comes from each one. I mean, all these areas are going up in value, but I will say some have more value than others comparing what you're looking for, whether it be a multifamily, single family, or condos.
So that's why, like I said, give us a call. We'd have to come out and we'd have to look at it and do what they do is a comparable market analysis to give you an idea of what the selling price of your particular home. Plus, Zillow's not out there looking in the window. Yep. So they don't know what your inside is looking like.
What you're doing inside there. But also, I was going to say, remember, this is a product for you. It's free. We do the CMA. I give it to you in email and an actual report. We print it out. And the thing is, it's just for you to have. I mean, there's no pressure to sell the house. It's good to have this. I have recommended some of my clients do it every 6 months to see how that number changes. And if you see it going the right way, whether that means up or down. If you see it going down, you may want to say maybe I should sell, because you never know what the next market is going to bring.
Yeah, when I say that, Zillow can't look in your window, you could have two completely different situations. You could have sometimes years ago, I find a lot of these developers, they bought what they call a subdivision, and they built all the cookie cutter houses. All of them looked exactly the same. And you can tell even when you go sometimes in a neighborhood, all of the two-family houses all have the same design, everything.
Yes.
But as people buy them, maybe one house is outdated. Maybe it's got the original cabinets, the original Formica inside there, the carpet on the flooring. And maybe the one next door, the guy bought it, he put in granite countertops, stainless steel appliances, new cabinets, upgraded it. From the outside, they both look exactly the same. So how is Zillow going to tell the difference?
Inside is totally different. And you'll notice that also. I tell my clients who go and see listings, and for example, if you live in New York, look at Connecticut, you see a few listings you like, please go on Google Maps, look at those areas, you know what I mean? Because like I'll say, the house looked amazing on the inside, but have you looked at the surrounding neighborhood? And that's where your agent's supposed to come in also. Your agent should know what kind of neighborhood you like also.
Sure. Not only that, what happens a lot of times is that, we have people, a lot of our first-time home buyers, and if you're a first-time home buyer out there, the first thing that a first-time home buyer goes by when they look at a house is price. That's the first thing they're stuck on, price. And I always, when someone will send me a price or a house, they'll say, Mr. Scott, I got this house, I want to go see this one right away. I say, oh, what's the price? And they'll tell me, and I know everything in that neighborhood is selling for $300,000. Well, this one's $175,000. I'm like, oh, wow. Yeah, I said,
that's low.
Well, right away, something's wrong. So my first impression is to go read the comments. What's it say in the comments? What's wrong with this particular property? When it says fixer-upper, when it says furnace doesn't work, pipes are busted. Handyman special. So right away I say, okay, what kind of mortgage do you have? Your mortgage says that everything got to be in good working order and it's got to be in good shape. So I say, well, let me see if I can get some photos. And I send them the photos and they say, oh no, oh my God, what's this? We don't want to see that.
Exactly. I will say always, always, always see the property in person. These photos, I'm not saying all of them are, can be manipulated to look the very best, which they are going to be looking the very best online. But always see it in person. You'll be surprised what they don't take pictures of.
Right. So hopefully we've been helpful this week, and like I said, time goes by so fast. But if you know someone out there that needs help, or there's a property that's in distress, give us a call right there, and we can give some good advice and steer them in the right direction. It's the difference between losing a house or walking away with a lot of money and building up the equity or keeping the house. So give us a call, talk to either my son or either talk to me, and we can help you out. So until next week, thank you for listening. God bless.
Amen.